Okay, we're going to switch gears a little bit and start looking at some scatter diagrams and their correlation. So kind of how the points all relate together. That's what we're going for first, all right? So a scatter diagram is a graph that shows the relationship between two, that's the key, quantitative variables measured on the same individual. Each data set, so each individual data set represents a point. So basically what we're looking at is this XY coordinate, this input-output kind of situation. So two variables are based on the same individual, and that's how you get that point. All right? So the two variables that we're talking about here are going to be the response and the explanatory. So we've heard these words before, and so now we're going to put them into practice. Your response is that vertical axis, right? That's going to be your output. So you have that explanatory, that is the input. These are the same words we've already used. So we're now just tying it together like we have been doing, right? We had all that vocabulary at the beginning of the course, and now we're putting it all into practice. The explanatory is the horizontal axis, and that is your input. So whatever you input, there is a response to that explanatory variable, right? These are the two. So we have these two quantitative variables, the response and the explanatory. Just depends on whatever it is that we're talking about. Okay, so let's talk about some golf, shall we? So a golf pro wants to investigate the relation between the club head speed of the golf club, which is measured in miles per hour, and the distance. So those are our two values that we're going for here. He realizes other variables besides club head speed determine the distance a ball will travel, such as the type, the club type, the ball type, the golfer, and the weather. To eliminate the variability due to these variables, the pro uses a single model of club and ball, one golfer, and a clear 70-degree day with no wind. So the pro records the club head speed, measures the distance, and collects the data. And then we're going to draw a scatter diagram of this data. So really what we're looking for here is to draw a scatter diagram, and that's already done for us, which is nice. But here's the table that gives us this. Couple of things that we're looking at. Remember how we said the response is on the vertical axis and the explanatory is on the horizontal axis. Now think about this for a second. However fast I swing that club, right? So the club head speed, however fast that is, the response to that is how far the ball goes. Do you see where this explanatory response comes in? So however fast the club head speed is going, that is how I can look at the response for that, all right, which is the distance. Okay, so this also says two variables that we're looking at is going to be 1 point. Excuse me, I just got choked up. It's going to be 1 point. So this is the coordinate point 100, 257. So if I look at 100, 257, that is the point that goes there. That's kind of what we're talking about here. And so our concept that we're going to focus on today, so we have this scatter diagram, and so I just want you to see what this looks like. So these 2 points, we have an explanatory, we have a response. Together they make 1 point. Now we're going to talk about what can we do with this data. Right? That's where we're going with this. So up front, I just want to make sure you understand these two variables. And then as we progress, we're going to say, okay, what can we do with this data? What does this mean? What does this look like? And how can we pull these relationships off? So that's the key here. How is the data put together? How is it clustered through there? And we're going to get a better idea of that. But all of these, notice the response is on the y-axis. I'm just going to do a big circle there. The explanatory is on the x-axis, or is a horizontal, if you will. All right. Then you want to say, what does the relationship look like? And we are specifically going to focus on linear relationships. So if I'm looking at these variables and how they relate together, see how it all kind of goes in a line? Goes in a line. Now this is more like a parabola, right? So that is nonlinear. This kind of looks like a cubic function, which is nonlinear. And then this bad boy is just all over the place. So there's no relationship whatsoever with that one. Kind of went underneath it, didn't I? All right. So in particular, we are going to focus on these linear relationships. That's kind of where our focus is going to be on this section. Okay, but just looking at it and getting that visual and making that interpretation, that's where we're starting.